Hello, everybody. I'm Jason Case. I'm with
Russ,
Jay,
and Tony Beers,
and we're here to do movie grades on Justice League. For those that watch Batman vs. Superman, you see these characters were introduced. Basically, it's Batman wanting to put together a team because a threat's coming to destroy the Earth. And he goes out and basically on a recruiting mission to get all these other people with powers and various whatnots to help him out.
let me begin by saying that I am so thankful Joss Whedon took over finishing up the editing and directing, because I could clearly see that without him, this would have been a complete mess if he had not stepped in. The end product I wound up liking, but I end up liking it because, essentially, of his work. Now, I know a lot of people have been saying, oh, you couldn't tell what was done by Joss Whedon and what was done by Zack Snyder. No, I could tell very easily what was done by each one. I thought it was painfully obvious, the work each of them did. And I could tell also, like I said, that Joss Whedon was the one who edited it together to make something that actually worked. Otherwise, it would have been a mess very similar to Batman vs. Superman. And take note, I said Batman vs. Superman this time because he made it so that Henry Cavill actually did a far better job, finally, as the Man of Steel. Again, I enjoyed it for what it was. I definitely don't think we got the payoff that we got with them building up the Avengers, but nonetheless, I mean, if you went in thinking, oh God, at least I hope this is halfway decent, then I think you'll be at least you'll be pleased with that in the least.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
I enjoyed the movie. I believe I probably went in with probably a lot of people with less expectations. I mean, unless you would really like Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, unless you like those movies, and I don't know if we're unanimous here on Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, but we kind of didn't really like them. I don't know how
I'm with you on that one.
So in this group we're unanimous, but like I said, and I don't know if you guys had kind of lower expectations going into this movie as well, because
I did.
I think a lot of people were skeptical because of still the names printed on it was Zack Snyder, and even though Joss Whedon his name was on there too, but still a lot of people were probably still very skeptical about because of Zack Snyder, at least the people who didn't really like Batman vs. Superman and Man of Steel. Don't get me wrong, Wonder Woman was still better than these two, but better than this one, and of course better than those two by a long shot.
Yeah.
But like I says, I went in there. We went in there with low expectations, and we came out, and it was a decent movie. It was something I would watch again. I would definitely. I would rewatch this movie again.
Definitely.
I like the characters. I think they picked the right characters for this movie. I mean, obviously, you have the Trinity, you had Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and then of course bringing in Flash and Aquaman and Cyborg. I believe it balanced the role. But my favorite character in this movie, I really liked Ezra Miller as the Flash, as Barry Allen. I really liked his liners, especially his exchange with some of the other characters, especially Batman. And
well, me and him's opposite on that opinion.
You didn't like
it, even though you are.
I like the Flash,
shirt.
but this, why I got this shirt is because of the TV series. But anyway, Ezra Miller, I didn't really care for the Flash the way they did him. I really didn't.
So who did you like?
The two I liked the most was Aquaman and Cyborg.
I like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I liked him too.
Yeah, I didn't go with Wonder Woman and all that because they were already established characters and they were good. But for me, Aquaman and Cyborg were the better, I wouldn't say side characters, but ones that we were introduced to or shown in this movie. The way they did the Flash, they made him try to be like Peter Parker from Spider-Man. And that was my opinion. I just was kind of like, really? Some of the stuff he was doing, I've never gotten a fight in my life, stuff like that. I'm like, dude, no, I'm just saying, you're the fastest guy in the whatever, and you never punched. I would have used that to punch a bunch of people, and they've never seen it coming. That's where I didn't think he was all that. I thought he was okay for what it was.
But I did like the establishment they did have with his father.
Yeah,
that was really
that
well
was
done.
Cool. Yeah, that was
well
really
done.
Cool.
At least they explained his past. I liked how Victor Stone, Cyborg. I liked how they explained him. I liked how they explained him, like what happened to him. He was in a car accident that his mother died, but his father said he couldn't bear to lose both of them, so he saved him, and he made him, as he thought to himself, he was a monster, but then he realizes he wasn't really the monster. Actually, I think they were really saying that his father was more the monster to create him, but I feel like, but his father had a valid point, he didn't want to lose
both of them. Yeah.
Both of them. So
to get back to the Flash for a second, though, I say I liked him, but I think he was overused. Like I felt
there was too many scenes with him.
Well, not too many. Well, like a little bit goes a long way with him. In other words, what I'm saying is a little Flash will do you. I felt that I liked him in certain scenes, but sometimes he just got too annoying at certain points. I told you this before. Yeah. Well, he was talking about going on this long rant about brunch, and I'm like, really? Come on, get on.
That was kind of lame.
I gotta eat like 500 million.
Yeah, I gotta eat like 18 million calories a day, and blah blah blah, and it's like. Okay.
Oh, my stomach's a black hole. Yeah. But stuff we already know. Should know.
Yeah, I liked him a little bit in this movie, but I'm kind of dreading the Flash movie because I'm like, I don't think I can take a full 2 hours of this guy talking about brunch and stuff. Russell?
The thing with the Flash, and I've even watched a few reviews, and this is something I have to agree with that several people are saying. Stop calling this version of the Flash Barry Allen, because this is not Barry Allen. It's Wally West. And the thing is that whether you watch the TV show or the movie, that's how Wally West is supposed to be, not Barry Allen. Barry Allen, to me, is a lot like Hal Jordan should have been in the movies. Most of the Justice League characters back then had like a 20-foot pole shoved up their asses, but the thing is they were soldiers fighting for Earth, and that's the sense you got from them. You don't get that sense from people like Kyle Rayner, or in this case Wally West, and that's the character we got. And I have no problem with how Ezra Miller did. In fact, I think he did a far better job than Grant Gustin. But at the same time,
those fighting words. Go ahead.
But at the same time, it's Wally West. It's not Barry Allen. So, but I just go with I just went with it. I'm like, okay, fine, because
I happen to like Grant Gustin, but that's beside the point. So, no, to your point on this, Ross, I agree with you. I didn't connect with him as Barry Allen. I really didn't. He was more like the Wally West kind of Flash, and that wasn't what the character was supposed to be. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's like they combined the two of them.
Yeah. I did not see that at all.
No, with the father thing and being in prison and stuff. That was a Barry Allen thing.
That was really
but the rest of it was Wally West. You see what I mean?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And I think that, and I've noticed this, DC's seem to be doing this in their movies. They're, doing different things, with their characters. Like we've talked about, Superman's dark suit, and
they're not quite the ones we know.
Yeah, exactly. And we've said this many times. Mm-hmm. When you have a format that works, these characters, like Superman, has been established as 1943, and you go out, or 38 or whatever it is, and you go out and change them.
Yeah.
It doesn't make people feel the same way about that character.
Yeah.
So it's one of these cases where people don't get bored of the same thing. They like seeing the same thing over. Because you know how a lot of times you do the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah. It gets kind of boring after a while, or very quickly. But I guess in this case, I guess people still like that Superman with the underwear over his spandex and stuff like that. Obviously, in this movie, we don't get that. Even with Batman as well too. But it's like they changed it just to appease. I don't know if they're saying a different audience or the same audience, but a more open, like a bigger scale, So
well, I think kind of the opposite of that. I think there was more trying to
bring.
They were trying to do their own thing. They were like, okay, that's Superman. We want to do something different, and what they did different, people didn't like. That's
Well,
Pretty
they say if
much
it
what
ain't
it is.
broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Exactly. Another thing about the Flash I didn't like, what was with all the lightning around him?
I like that.
That's just-
actually.
You did like it? I thought it was kind of. I don't know.
They do that on. They do that. They do that on the Flash, the TV series. As well.
Yeah, but not as much as it was on him. I mean, it seemed like he had a lot more lightning in the movie.
Yeah.
Not that it matters, because I mean that's kind of being trivial. But I just.
It's part of the Speed Force, though.
Yeah.
I guess it's supposed to emulate like his speed. You know how fast he's supposed to be.
Right. Well, I think that goes to what I was just saying, is that they're trying something a little bit different.
I mean, if you just had him running without all the lightning, it may not look like it may not look right.
It's a visual thing that they were
Because
trying.
I mean, I think they want to differentiate from Marvel, which is Quicksilver, who doesn't have the lightning around him. Maybe they're trying to differentiate, because we've seen what Quicksilver did in the two X-Men.
Also, to be fair, sorry to interrupt you there. I remember in the late 80s Flash series starring John Wesley Shipp, they didn't do the lightning either, and it's like, it was fine back then, but trust me, if you watch it now, it's like,
yeah, it's a little weird.
They need something.
Yeah. You got anything you want to add, Tony, to this?
Well, yeah, I'll say, to get what he was saying about Superman, I would say that they're changing him a little bit gradually, and he's getting a little bit better from time to time. But there's two things I appreciate about what they've done with this Superman. This Superman, well, they brighten his costume, so I like that.
They finally that's blue.
So visually it's a little bit better, and it's a scene towards the end which I liked where they're fighting the parademons and Steppenwolf, and Superman uses his super hearing. He's like, oh, civilians, I gotta take off. And fight. So they're listening to the fans at least.
I did like that because that was the Superman character we talked about.
And they made it more comical, because it's like, okay, Superman says, Barry, you go to the right, I'll go to the left, or whatever, and then you see or west or east, whatever. Doesn't matter. You see Barry saving those civilians that were in the house, and then you see Superman lifting this huge building of civilians. Right. That was really well done. And then the after credit scene where they do the race.
That was cool, but the other one, it was like,
the Lex Luthor. Well,
no, that I liked, and let me tell you why. Well, and you may disagree with this, and I'll accept that. The Luthor I saw that he played there, I'm thinking, this is what I wanted to see in Batman vs Superman. Like it's like they finally got that not perfectly middle, but middle between the Jesse Eisenberg and Heath Ledger. They got that. Has that subtle thing going on, like but he's kind of holding back, which I always knew he could pull off. And I'm like, this is proof he can do it.
And what do you think about Deathstroke?
I'll say this. I really like the second ending scene, because it sets up the Legion of Doom, or whatever you want to call it, whatever team they're going to call it. But and I like that. And my biggest complaint about this movie is it's not original at all. I mean, everything is, I've seen it before. This whole movie is basically a redone of the Avengers. Is someone coming to Earth to conquer it with instead of parademons, Chitauri, and so it's the same thing over and again. So
mother boxes.
So yeah,
it's
like the cosmic cube, exactly.
Yeah.
So
and Loki's like Steppenwolf.
Exactly. So.
Except not bland.
I wanted to take a magic carpet ride when I heard his name. I'm like, oh my.
That's the band. Yeah.
So
we'll talk about him in a few.
Yeah. Setting up the Legion of Doom. That's actually what I wanted to see in this movie. So because it's something different. I mean, Marvel's never done a team up of villains to fight the heroes. So this would have been different, and I would have preferred this. So that made me excited. I'm like, okay. Now they're heading in the direction I want to see them go in. So I'm like,
I see where you're going with that.
And I'll have to agree with you that Lex Luthor improved a little bit. And I thought to myself, you said it was still the same Lex Luthor. And I'm like, yeah, kind of, but if they do make a second Justice League movie with the Legion of the Doom, that's questionable right now. But anyway. I'm like, well, there'll be other villains around, so I won't have to worry about annoying Lex Luthor so much.
The thing is with him from the Batman vs Superman, again, I think DC, they were taking like, oh, this is Lex Luthor, but he's like the Riddler or something. It wasn't the Lex Luthor that we know, and it just seems like in all their movies they're doing this, and I don't know why.
Well, like I said, I always like. Have you ever seen the movie American Ultra?
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't.
When I saw that movie, when I saw Jesse Eisenberg in Lana, like, that's probably what they saw. They said, "Oh my God, this guy could be Luthor." And yes, if you watch that movie, you could see what he could pull off. And they kind of moved closer to that with the scene at the end of Justice League. What we saw in Batman vs Superman was just. It was a mess, pretty much. But this one, like, at least they're getting closer. Like, he showed he's holding himself back a little bit. He's more subtle. That's the Luthor I knew he could pull off. It's closer to it. And that was the one that I was hoping to see in the mess from last year.
Yeah.
So everybody's got some good points, but I want to talk about something.
Go for it.
Steppenwolf.
Yeah, we gotta talk about the main villain.
The CG on him was not very good.
I liked his design, but I think they were trying to go away from the animated and the animated series version or the comic version of him. I see they wanted to make him different. I mean, I think the design of him was very well done, but the CGI on his face, I think his face was kind of.
The CGI was your only problem with him.
I had a lot of problems.
Not the fact that he was bland beyond anything, 100% forgettable.
I will destroy you. I'm like. Okay.
I actually posted on Facebook because people always complain about how forgettable the Marvel Cinematic Universe films are, and so DC goes, hold our beer, we got this with Justice League.
Hey, hold my beer for a second, I got this. No, when we talked about this and we've all had our discussions, I just, when I heard Steppenwolf, I was like, okay. I mean, when I hear that name, I'm like, oh, that scares me. He's going to destroy my planet. You know, I didn't think that one bit, you know. And again, I agree with you. There are a lot of similarities between that and the Avengers. The mother boxes were like, you know, the Tesseract and all these things. And again, I don't really know that character, Steppenwolf.
I love Steppenwolf.
But I know he has something to do with Darkseid because he mentioned him several times. So I know we're probably going to see Darkseid at one time or another in the next few movies.
And it was a case where they brought him in too soon, basically.
Well, I mean, that's possible.
I like the Power Demons. They were really well done.
I think that they could have done them better, you know. Get back to his look and the CG. You know, my favorite look personally from is his superpowers look.
I like him in Superman the Animated Series. That's the look that when I saw, like, oh yeah.
Yeah, either one of those I would have been fine with, but like, they didn't need to make him 10 feet tall. You know, he could have just been. I can understand they wanted them big, but that big is kind of too big, and the CGI is too much.
It was just completely bland to me.
And I thought there was, my biggest thing is, I thought there was some hope for these DC movies, because Wonder Woman was so great.
Oh, yeah.
And it just seems like...
This was a step back.
Yeah, it did. That's what it felt like to me.
Well, I do like the one line where he says, like, all the old gods have been destroyed. Now with the new gods, or now the revolution of the new gods, or whatever he said.
And thank you for reminding me about that, Jay, because it was something else I did want to bring up about that. Folks, if you noticed, Justice League came out shortly after Thor Ragnarok. You're like, okay, so what? Well, technically, from what I read, Jack Kirby actually kind of...
he created Fourth World.
He created the Fourth World, but he put it technically in the Marvel Universe because... supposedly one of the first images you see in those stories is Thor's helmet, or a Thor helmet that looks shockingly like Thor's helmet. So, in Thor Ragnarok, Asgard gets destroyed. So, here comes Justice League with the new gods. How do you like that for timing and like one event after not like this, the series of events? I thought that was. I know it wasn't intentional, but it worked out in that way. I thought.
What about the one scene in the movie, like flashback of
the armies and stuff?
The armies fighting against.
That's pretty cool.
That was awesome.
The Green Lantern.
Yeah, the Lantern Corps.
The Lantern Corps, and the one guy that was shooting the lightning, was that Zeus? I mean, were those the old gods?
Yeah, it was Zeus and
probably a few other the gods. And
it was probably Ares, I'd imagine.
the Titans.
Yeah.
You know,
It was cool to see that scene because it explained a lot, like why things were they were.
Yeah.
And then like again with Aquaman, he said when he's met Wonder Woman, didn't we fight you guys? Or he's talking about how the Atlanteans fought the
like
Amazon women.
Mera, she wasn't in the movie very long.
Yeah, that's one of my complaints too.
Well, I'll tell you, here's the thing. Here was a big issue where mine comes in. In my opinion, rather than having half the movie be focused on the origins for why Aquaman and Cyborg are in the Justice League, flesh all that out about what happened. We should have gotten completely, origin stories for them, and then they could have fleshed all that out instead of just like I said, just shoving all that into one movie. Yeah. It's just like, why was this not its own movie? This should have been its own movie, not taking up half the Justice League movie. That's just a waste of space. And that's time they could have spent developing Steppenwolf more, or instead giving us, I don't know, Starro the Conqueror, something like that.
Well, yeah, so it's the same complaint you had about Thor Ragnarok, is with Thor Ragnarok they threw too much in. Here they didn't have enough. They didn't go into depth on Aquaman and on all them other characters too, which they should have done in previous movies before.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like they went Batman vs Superman. It showed them all for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then brought them to you in this movie, and you're like, where do these people come from? I'm not saying that like us who've read comics and been around them, we know who they are, but the general person is not going to know who Aquaman is or Cyborg or.
And the kicker with Cyborg, when you hear like the exchange between he and his father talking about the terrible accident and everything. Imagine how much more impactful that would have been if he flippin' had his own chance to show his story rather than just shoving it in here.
Yeah.
It's just
saw the accident.
Yeah, it's just like, okay.
Like you guys would say, you would have been invested more in the character.
Yeah.
They just said, that's what I thought.
We got lucky that the characters were so likable, but if they hadn't been, we'd just be
actually, even with Barry Allen, they never showed the accident. He just says, "Oh, you were struck by lightning."
Yeah.
Who said that? Aquaman or somebody.
Cyborg.
And they could have done that a lot better.
Oh,
like
because they were saying like they're the outcasts or something, or not. They were saying they were the misfit, or they were the mutant. I want to say mutants.
Metahumans.
Well, not metahumans. They were metahumans is the term in the comics, but they said they were like the outcasts or something. I think they said they were the outcasts.
I can't remember that.
And then I will get to the last. I know we never really talked about Wonder Woman or Batman or Superman, but we kind of already know their characters. But the last one I want to talk about is J.K. Simmons as Jim Gordon. I think they actually picked someone very well. I know he was Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi ones or Tobey Maguire ones. Mm-hmm. So what do you think of him as a role in the DC universe now as Jim Gordon or as he's Commissioner Jim Gordon? I think he did.
I thought he did all right.
Fine.
I thought he did a good job.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with him at all.
We all know he's a good actor, but like we were saying, they didn't give enough time to do it.
But I don't think he needed enough time. And I know one of your complaints, Russell, is you really didn't care for Jeremy Irons as Alfred in Batman vs Superman. Do you think he did better in this movie?
Sure, because they really didn't give him that. They didn't really have him that much. They kind of didn't shove him in as much. So he basically served as like just a supporting character to Batman, and I thought it worked better, because I think it came down to, once again, when Joss Whedon edited it. Like, seriously, had Snyder done that, it would have been a total disaster. But because Joss Whedon took up the reins, like I said, all these different fragments actually worked because of Joss Whedon. He even said, before I got to this, it was a total mess, but everyone said he made it so it could work, and I agree.
Even though there's a lot of people out there that want a cut of a Zack Snyder cut. Never watching that if that ever does again.
Well, I think we should get to our grades and everything, guys. I think we got some good points in, and I think we should get our grades. What do you think, Russ?
I'm going to give it a solid B. Even though I gave the same thing as to Thor Ragnarok, I do praise this a little bit more. The funny thing is, with Thor Ragnarok, I went in with high expectations and was let down. With this one, I went in with low expectations and thought it was pretty good. I think it could have been a lot better if like, they'd had their own standalone movies, but for what they did, it actually turned out a halfway decent product, so that's what I'm going with.
What do you think?
I enjoyed it very much. I'll give it a B+. Like I says, I went in like most people with the whole skepticism. I can't say that word.
Skepticism.
Yeah, I was skeptical because of the Zack Snyder, Joss Whedon.
I hear
You
you.
know, and I really enjoyed what I saw. So yeah, B+ is gonna be my final grade on this one. How about you, Tony?
Well, I think I'm going to be a little bit lower than you guys because while I think this is the second best DC movie next to Wonder Woman, I still don't think it was all that great. I felt like there was a whole subplot with Martha Kent losing the farm and talking to Lois, and Lois.
I bought the bank.
Yeah, and that was funny at the end, but I mean, they could have cut that completely out of there. And like I said, I could have used more. You know, cutting that, you could have added more of the backstory for some of the other characters, like Aquaman. And that scene with Aquaman and Mirror just went by like in a second, and it was badly paced. It's like it reminded me of Dragnet, where they're just talking back and forth. They could have used a little bit more Flash backstory. Like I said, show, don't tell. We want to see Flash's accident.
Yeah.
Or, well, we know what's happening, but not, you know, like the average moviegoer is not going to know why Flash has his power. Or, like you said, I'd like to have seen Cyborg's accident, you know, all this other stuff. And like I said before, the movie was just, it was bland. I felt that it was taking away, it wasn't original. That's my biggest problem. It's like, I've seen all this stuff before. Like I said, it was a cross between, like, Avengers, Lord of the Rings, and Star Trek.
Wrath of Khan.
No, not Wrath of Khan. Well, a little bit of Wrath of Khan.
Or Search for Spock.
And Search for Spock.
Right.
I thought, because they bring back Superman and
Yeah,
stuff
there was another
like that.
subplot as well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
I remember you saying that. That's why I remembered it.
it was, and another thing I didn't like is like that Russian family. I think they cut back to them too often. I was okay, we've seen them. Okay, you can move on. And I just wanted to say, yeah, Steppenwolf, I didn't like him too much. He was very. I thought, you know, when they first showed him fighting the Amazons, I'm like, okay, this guy is pretty badass. But from then on, he went down, yeah. and
he gets his little imp guys to fight for him, you know.
Right, yeah, and
his generals.
And I thought to myself, okay, why can't the Amazons leave the island and help? What's going on? I mean, I don't. Or why can't the Atlanteans help? Why? Okay. Why only these 6 people? But anyway, well, as soon as they got Superman back, that's all they needed. But so you know,
Minus
so
the beard.
yeah. So I'm gonna give this a C.
Okay.
Plain C.
You and I talked about this, and my grade's just going to be a little bit higher than yours, not much. I like the action sequences in this movie. I thought they were pretty well done. I could see a lot of the Zack Snyder influence in them. The little slow-mo deals that he's done since 300. I told you I didn't really care for... I think Ezra Miller was okay as the Flash. I just think it was a little bit like, I don't know, they tried to make him like Peter Parker. I thought that kind of hurt for me. And I didn't have high expectations for this movie.
No.
My wife wanted to see it more than I did, really, to be honest with you. Because she likes Aquaman for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's the muscles. I don't know.
A lot of chicks like
But, but I didn't have high expectations. And I would say that this movie was above that a little bit. I mean, I wasn't disappointed. I didn't like Steppenwolf. Every time I say his name, I gotta laugh. I just thought he was kind of like, eh. You know, like
just
as soon as he talked, I was like, "Are you serious?" You know, I agree with Russ on that. He was real bland with his talking, like, "I'm going to destroy you guys."
Everything was bland about him. The look, this talk, everything.
And I don't know. I didn't really care for that, but like you said, the action sequences were good. I thought, again, guy playing Man of Steel, I forget his name. Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
This movie, he did a better version of Superman.
Yes.
I got to give him that. And they finally started getting the suit a little bit better. It's not so dark. It was a little bit bright, and he did the Truth, Justice, American Way stuff.
Right.
The good boy Superman is. I really enjoyed that part of the character, which is what I told my wife. I was like, actually, they did Superman a lot better in this movie. The one thing in the story that I kind of had an issue with was the Batman-Superman relationship. And what I mean by that is Batman was doing all these things because he felt guilty for the stuff when he fought Superman. I mean, and obviously in the other movie. I think that I think that to me they spent too much time on his guilt for that. I mean, I think because every time you turn around, it's like didn't Wonder Woman say something like, this isn't going to bring him back or something like that along those lines, and he's like, he was the light of the whole thing or something. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, that scene where she's talking to him, and I just thought that they spent way too much time on that. We already know he felt bad because he found out the truth, but too late in the first one, which still betrays me on that because he's the greatest detective in the world and he couldn't figure it out. But I think in that aspect of the movie that hurt it a little bit for me. I give it a B-, but it's barely a B-. I did like it a little bit better than Thor, I think. Just some of the action sequences and stuff. I don't know. They're pretty much similar to me. But I got to give it a B-. I just... Some of the stuff I liked helped to get up there. I was more in the C range. But, I mean, some of the stuff I did like helped to put it up a little bit. And so B- for me. I'm Jason Case.
Russ.
Jay.
Tony Beers.
And we'll see you next time.
This video is sponsored by the Crazy Kings of Toys. Check them out for all your toy needs and find out why they are so crazy. Find them on eBay, Bricklink, and Facebook. Links are in the description. For more Toxic Pop, visit our website at toxicpop1.wixsite.com/toxicpop. Email us at toxicpop1@gmail.com and check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/toxicpop1 and Instagram at instagram.com/wearetoxicpop. Links are in the description.